with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming off of a huge signature type win on Saturday night against the Texas A&M Aggies, it's safe to say that the Irish have their toughest opponent behind them. But would you be surprised that despite the fact the Irish are favored in its remaining games, there are still those looking to see if they stumble?
I don't believe anything.
Well, you better believe it. Want to find out who they face this week? Stay tuned to find out on Talk Like a Champion. Welcome back, you Irish faithful. Thank you for joining us here for another edition of Talk Like a Champion. I am your host, Mr. CeeLo, coming to you on the eve of the Irish attempting to have a successful opening weekend at Notre Dame Stadium as they welcome in. Well, where are my manners, you guys? Guys, listen, some of you guys are watching the content, and I would gratefully appreciate if you guys would hit that like and subscribe button so that I can continuously get this type of content in the algorithm, especially if you enjoy it. But someone asked me the other day to put my credentials out there. I have been a lifelong Notre Dame fan, dating all the way back to the days of Lou Holtz, the days of Tyrone Willingham, Bob Davie, as well as Charlie Weiss. So I am very much gamed in Notre Dame history. Now, if you need any more proof than that, please hit me up in the inbox and you can ask me what makes me a loyal Notre Dame fan that I am able to bring you this content. Now, let us move forward to the game and the business at hand as the Notre Dame Fighting Irish welcome in the Northern Illinois Huskies. Well, here's the issue that I have with this football team. They throw the football. And when you get a team that is coming off of a huge win, regardless of who it was Western Illinois. They put up 54. And this is a offense that likes to throw the football. And before we get into it, guys, I need to remind you that our Fighting Irish are ranked 5th in the country. That's right. We salute our boys over here. Even you always have to toot their horns, as well as even when we have to turn the furnace up a little bit. But having said that, in comes the Northern Illinois Huskies, led by Ethan Hampton, whom was exceptionally good on Saturday. You look at them, they scored 54 points against Western Illinois. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's Western Illinois. And it's pretty impressive when you can go 18 for 20, 328 yards, 5 scores. Now, what that means is that this defense is going to get some airtime. They're going to have to bring the heat. That defensive front is going to have to get some pressure. They're going to have to do some things. But when we look at the tail of the tape, which is what a lot of people want to look at. But the one thing I can hang our hat, the one thing we can hang our hat on is that Notre Dame's secondary arguably is still one of the best. Now, I believe this is going to be one of the top tests. I would say one of the top 4 or 5 tests that this Notre Dame secondary is going to get. And one of the top opportunities for our front 5 and front 7 to actually get after a quarterback and pad those stats. Looking at last week, that put us in a situation where it's going to be Notre Dame's 15th ranked, only after one game, you guys, 15th nationally ranked passing defense versus Northern Illinois' 10th nationally ranked passing offense. Now, what does that mean? It's strength on strength. Here's where it could get interesting. If Notre Dame is in a position where they have to get after the quarterback, and I'm talking about, let's say Northern Illinois gets up and they have to get to the quarterback to make a play. I don't know if we can. Now, I will say last week is not an indictment of their inability to get to a quarterback, because last week Connor Wigman and the Texas A&M Aggies used so many different snap counts to disrupt this defensive front. You could tell these guys were itchy, they were twitchy, they were ready to get after it, to the point that they were not doing the basic fundamentals, which is watch the snap. Don't go on the cadence. And that was a huge problem for the Irish on Saturday night. And this is something that this cannot rear its ugly head Saturday night at home. It has to be something that's contained, or it could be issues, because despite the fact we had several offside penalties that went the way of the Aggies, we cannot be in situations where we're giving these guys extra opportunities or free shots down the field. We just cannot do that. And we look at where Northern Illinois ranks as far as yards per carry. And this is scary here. Notre Dame's defense is 75th, giving up 3.8 yards a carry, whereas Northern Illinois averages 7.6 yards a carry. That's going to be a little concerning, guys, because guess what? They like to spread you out, and they do different things in the running game. And this is where this is going to be very different compared to the A&M atmosphere. The reality of it is that Notre Dame Irish cannot get complacent with doing the things that it has done, because Northern Illinois is looking for an opportunity to push itself into the conversation. And many people recall when Notre Dame gets a big win, they tend to have a sleepwalking incident. Now, I'm not saying that the Irish are going to have it here, but I do believe that we're going to have to bring our A game. This could be one of those games where it could be a stat stuffer, or it could be a serious slobber knocker.
Cut it out.
And the reality it is, we do not want to get in a slobber knocker fest with Northern Illinois. We want to try to get in and get out of this game as soon as possible. And I believe this could be a game where Riley Leonard is handing the ball off a lot, and I think he gets a couple of big runs to really keep them honest. He may even throw a couple of deep bombs. This may be a situation where Denbrock wants to work on his deep ball. And of course, we know Al Golden wants to get those pass rushes in place so that he can develop some chemistry with his defensive players and get those guys allocated to what they're going to do in the coming months en route to a possible run at the national championship. But the truth of the matter is if Notre Dame's defense is going to take that next step, they need to dominate this football game. This does not need to be a game where the Irish are struggling to slow down Northern Illinois' passing attack. I believe wholeheartedly that they're going to get to quarterback Ethan Hampton. I believe Hampton has a total 180 compared to what he did last Saturday. I think it turns into a nightmare because of this Irish secondary and this pass rush, and he won't replicate the 328-yard performance he had last week. Now, let's flip it over to when the Irish have the football. Probably the one guy that stands out is going to be defensive edge player Roy Williams, where he recorded 6 tackles and a sack. The offensive line is a much more efficient test. It's going to be a much more efficient test for Williams. So I'm interested to see how that's going to go. Despite the fact that the Irish are relatively a young bunch of guys, they did exceptionally well in College Station. Weren't nearly the mix-ups on the offensive line that I thought they would be. Majority of those mistakes were simply just missed pickups on blitzes, and those come with time. And especially if you have a young quarterback who seemingly does not understand that he needs to call out protections and who's coming when you see where the blitz is coming. But I believe the Irish are going to be able to run the football, run it effectively. Just looking at what they were able to do against A&M in College Station last weekend was nothing more than that the Irish still are in a very good position to run the football and dominated the line of scrimmage. Bringing along Riley Leonard's ability to throw in this offense and be able to throw it down the field when the time comes. But as I said before, I think this is going to be a game that the Irish are going to be able to pad stats on their first home game and go to 2-0. And barring no kind of disaster that goes on in the top 25, I believe Michigan's probably going to get beat this weekend. But let me know what you guys think about Notre Dame versus Northern Illinois. Who do you think is going to be the main guy? Do you think Northern Illinois is going to provide a really good test for the Irish? Or just anything you'd like to ask? Make sure when you leave a comment below that you be ready for it to be talked about on the show. If it's a good question, I will definitely post it, and you will be the talk of champions. But until we meet again, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun rise warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.